Conservatism. Imagine a tree deeply rooted in the ground, its sturdy branches reaching for the sky. This is conservatism, valuing tradition as the roots that anchor society, ensuring stability in a changing world. Conservatives believe that gradual change, like pruning a tree, is better than drastic upheaval, which risks the whole system collapsing. For example, the U.S. Republican Party champions traditional values like family and patriotism, emphasizing limited government and free markets. Similarly, the British Conservative Party upholds monarchy and parliamentary traditions, balancing progress with stability. Conservatives argue that by respecting history and maintaining societal pillars, we can build a future without losing our foundation. To them, tradition isn't resistance to change, it's a thoughtful way to guide it, ensuring growth while preserving the values that hold us together. Liberalism. Picture a world where every individual is free to pursue their dreams without interference, a place where liberty and equality are the guiding stars. This is the essence of liberalism, a belief that champions individual rights and freedoms as the foundation of a fair society. Philosopher John Locke laid the groundwork, arguing that life, liberty, and property are natural rights that no one, not even governments, should violate. Modern liberal democracies, like the United States or many European nations, carry this torch by protecting free speech, equal opportunity, and the rule of law. Liberalism thrives on the idea that by empowering individuals, societies can flourish collectively. It's a vision of a world where every voice matters and progress comes through freedom, equality, and respect for human dignity. Socialism. Imagine a society where wealth and resources are shared equally, where no one is left behind, and everyone has access to the same opportunities. This is the core vision of socialism, a political ideology that advocates for collective ownership of resources and the pursuit of economic equality. Socialists believe that private ownership of the means of production leads to exploitation, and only by sharing resources can we build a fairer, more just society. Democratic socialism, which has gained traction in many parts of the world, combines socialist ideals with democratic principles, advocating for a balance between individual freedoms and collective well-being. Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Denmark, and Norway embody these principles through policies such as universal healthcare, free education, and progressive taxation, where wealth is redistributed to ensure equal access to essential services. In these societies, economic inequality is reduced, and the government plays a role in regulating the market to ensure fairness and justice for all. Communism, at its core, envisions a world without social classes, where wealth and power are equally distributed among all people. Rooted in Karl Marx's revolutionary ideas, communism seeks to dismantle capitalism, which Marx believed exploits the working class for the benefit of the wealthy elite. According to Marx, the ultimate goal is to create a classless society where the means of production, factories, land, and resources are owned collectively, and everyone has equal access to wealth and opportunities. In practice, communist regimes like the Soviet Union, Cuba, and modern-day China have sought to implement these ideals, though often with a centralized government holding significant power. The Soviet Union attempted to create a state-controlled economy where the government made decisions on behalf of the people. Cuba, under Fidel Castro, pursued similar policies, focusing on free healthcare, education, and state ownership. Meanwhile, China adopted a mix of communism and capitalism, allowing for market-driven reforms alongside communist governance. Though communism aims for equality, its practical implementation has faced challenges, with debates about whether true equality can be achieved without sacrificing personal freedoms. Fascism. Fascism is a radical political ideology that emphasizes authoritarian rule, extreme nationalism, and militarism. At its core, fascism believes in the supremacy of the state over the individual, advocating for a powerful central government led by a single, often dictatorial leader. It rejects democracy and promotes an authoritarian system where opposition is suppressed and dissent is not tolerated. Central to fascist ideology is nationalism, the belief that the nation should be united under a single identity, often defined by race, culture, or ethnicity. This can lead to xenophobia and aggressive expansionism, as seen in Nazi Germany, where Adolf Hitler's regime promoted Aryan supremacy and led to the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust. Similarly, Mussolini's Italy emphasized the restoration of national glory through militarism and conquest, aiming to expand Italy's empire and bring about societal unity under a strong, centralized state. Fascism thrives on loyalty to the leader, strict control of society, and an emphasis on national pride, often at the expense of individual freedoms and human rights. Anarchism. Anarchism is that stands firmly against centralized authority and government control. At its core, anarchism believes that society can function without hierarchical systems, such as governments, that impose laws and restrictions on individuals. Anarchists argue that these systems are inherently coercive and unjust, and that true freedom can only be achieved when people govern themselves without the need for top-down power structures. There are several variants of anarchism, each offering a unique vision of how a stateless society might function. Anarcho-communism advocates for a society where resources are shared collectively, and there is no private property or wealth inequality. It envisions a community-based system where cooperation replaces competition, and everyone's needs are met without exploitation. On the other hand, anarcho-capitalism proposes a market-driven society where private property and free markets operate without government interference. Here, individuals and businesses freely interact, while voluntary contracts replace state regulations. Though these forms of anarchism differ in their approach, they all share the common goal of a society free from coercion and hierarchical authority. Environmentalism. Environmentalism, often referred to as the Green Ideology, is a political and social movement that prioritizes sustainability, ecological balance, and the protection of the planet. Its core focus is addressing the environmental crises facing the world, such as climate change, deforestation, pollution, and biodiversity loss. Environmentalists believe that economic growth should not come at the expense of the environment, advocating for sustainable practices that preserve natural resources for future generations. Green ideology is grounded in the idea that human activity should be in harmony with nature, not exploitative. This includes policies promoting renewable energy, conservation, and reducing carbon emissions. Environmentalism also calls for social and economic changes, such as adopting eco-friendly technologies, reducing waste, and fostering eco-conscious consumer behavior. Political groups like Green parties in Europe and other parts of the world embody these principles, pushing for laws and regulations that promote environmental protection. Global movements such as Fridays for Future, led by activist Greta Thunberg, have further highlighted the urgency of combating climate change and protecting the planet from further harm. Environmentalism strives to ensure that growth and progress do not undermine the planet's long-term health. Populism. Populism is that seeks to represent the interests and will of ordinary people, often by positioning them in opposition to the elites, whether political, economic, or cultural. Populist leaders and movements argue that established power structures are corrupt, self-serving, and out of touch with the needs of the common person. By framing their message as a battle between the people and the elites, populists aim to empower the masses, challenging traditional authority and advocating for policies that directly benefit the public. Populism can manifest on both the left and right of the political spectrum. Left-wing populism, seen in movements across Latin America, focuses on social justice, wealth redistribution, and combating inequality. Leaders like Hugo Chavez in Venezuela and Evo Morales in Bolivia have used populist rhetoric to challenge corporate power and implement socialist policies. On the other hand, right-wing populism focuses on national identity, anti-immigration policies, and skepticism toward globalization. Figures like Donald Trump in the US and the leaders behind Brexit in the UK used populist platforms to appeal to voters who felt left behind by economic changes and growing cultural diversity. Whether left or right, populism thrives on the idea that the people should take back control from elites, although critics argue it can lead to divisiveness and oversimplified solutions to complex issues.